Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Thursday, November 12th, 2020, and today we're going to be comparing my election prediction versus the actual results of the 2020 presidential election. Before we get into this, I just wanted to announce that I have a new YouTube channel. It's strictly for gaming. You can go ahead and check it out here, bit.ly/LTE gaming. I can show you how quick it is. You just go to the link, you type it in, and you get to the gaming channel, and you can press subscribe if you want to, just letting you guys know. Let's move on. Let's go ahead and get right into this video. So, on your screen right now are the current election results for the 2020 presidential election. President-elect Biden has 306 electoral votes, and President Trump, don't mean to mix them up, I just use the names interchangeably, President Trump has 232 electoral votes. So, with all of these states practically decided, we still have some outstanding votes from a couple of more solid states. We see states such as Kansas and Missouri and Alaska to report a little bit more of their numbers, also in Montana. So it's very possible, actually, that these states move down into the likely column. Montana, Kansas, and Alaska are both within a percentage point of becoming likely states, and I believe all three of these states have roughly 5% of their vote outstanding. So just keep that in mind when you take a look at my map. There's a reason why this map looks a lot redder. Number one, first of all, my prediction was a little bit skewed to the left, but we'll talk about that once we get into it. The results were pretty much okay. This is my current election prediction, well, my final election prediction for the 2020 election. And as you can see, it is considerably bluer and less red, if that makes sense. You see that states such as Montana and Utah and Kansas, I overestimated the amount of support that Joe Biden would be receiving in those states and the lack of support for Donald Trump in them as well. And I acknowledge that. That was a miscalculation on my part. But I pointed out 30 seconds ago that Montana, Alaska, even actually Kansas and Missouri, both of them have a very real possibility that they narrow down below the current 15-point whatever threshold that they're at right now and move over into the likely column. So it's actually possible that we see a little bit less red or a little bit lighter red on the electoral map. But that is all speculation. I don't know for all four of those states the percent of the vote outstanding. Like I said, it's 5% or less. I don't know the exact vote number, and I have no indication as to whether or not that's going to favor Biden or Trump. But moving past the safe states, we don't really see too many surprises. I mean, the state of Illinois has roughly 8% of their ballots left to count. It's currently a 13-point margin for Biden, so it could expand. It could get closer. It's still a Biden victory, but that was a pretty weird state, to say the least. But take a look at the swing states. Take a look at the Rust Belt region particularly. I want to talk about this region for just a few seconds. So I projected every single state in this region correctly, but the margins are what matters. Taking a look at the election results, you see that Donald Trump did better in Iowa and Ohio than I expected, and practically in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Now, I knew Pennsylvania would be the closest state out of them all, but I did not think that it would be within a tilt margin. Nor did I expect Wisconsin to be in a tilt margin as well. Joe Biden won the state of Wisconsin by practically the exact same percentage as Donald Trump did in this state. So I think that's pretty ironic. Coincidentally, Joe Biden is on track to carry the same amount of electoral votes as President Trump 4 years ago when he won on November 8th, 2016. So again, very ironic situations popping up this election season. But Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, they are amongst the closest races. Wisconsin is the tipping point of this election. We talked about how Pennsylvania was going to be the tipping point, but realistically, we knew it would be around this region. With the exception of Florida, we didn't really discuss any other possibilities of tipping points in some of the more contested swing states. We generally knew that it would be within this Rust Belt region. But Michigan surprisingly voted to the left of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. I mean, I said it would vote to the left of them, but these states pretty much vote all together. If Pennsylvania and Wisconsin are close, Michigan should also be pretty close, but Biden's up 3 points in this state. Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, Biden is not up by that amount, and I just think that it's pretty weird seeing Michigan break away. I expected it to vote to the left of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania marginally. I didn't think it would be by a whole characterization, but again, that's just how the election ended up. So in this area, I underestimated Trump's support in the state of Iowa and Ohio, along with Indiana and Missouri, but Missouri is yet to be seen. Pretty much, though, I mean, I did get the election winners correct. It was just we thought that Ohio and Iowa, that Donald Trump's support had cracked in these two states, as we saw with these election results. Both of them have been moved closer than where they were in 2016, but still, Donald Trump victories in the likely margin regardless. Ohio and Iowa, Ohio specifically, has broken their bellwether streak that they held for 60 years. That is a pain for me just because I used Ohio and Vigo County, Indiana as reference points in previous videos, and I'm no longer going to do that because they have voted against the election winner. I think this is the first time Vigo County has been incorrect in over half a century. Actually, I think it may have been wrong once since 1952. So let's go ahead and move on. The Rust Belt, generally, I overestimated Biden's support in this region. Donald Trump's appeal to these Obama-Trump voters still remains. He probably won the majority of them, but it just wasn't enough to carry those three crucial states, totaling up to, 46 electoral votes. That really broke down Donald Trump's reelection bid. The blue wall has technically been rebuilt, but this is not a comfortable margin for Democrats whatsoever. In the Northeast, nothing really shocked me. I projected all of the winners correctly there as well. And I'm saying that because I am patting myself on the back. I did get Maine's 2nd District correct, even though some other forecasts had Maine's 2nd District going to Joe Biden. Now, I expected it to be narrower than it actually was. I also expected Maine's Senate election to go to the Democrats, and that was a very inaccurate representation of the state's politics. Honestly, that was a surprise to many people. Not a single poll had Collins ahead. But then again, polling has never been the most accurate indicator of election results, but it's still held true in the state of Maine statewide on the presidential level, so I really have no idea what happened. It was almost spot on in terms of the Maine election results versus the Maine polling data, but in those same exact polls, they did Senate election polls, and for whatever reason, those were grossly inaccurate. But take what you can. Maine at large was correct. Maine's 1st District was correct. The 2nd District was the only one that really threw me off. In the state of New Hampshire, same characterization versus the prediction, so nothing really to talk about there. Let's go ahead and hit the South. So this is a region where I expected Joe Biden to do a little bit better. This is the actual result, and then this is my prediction. Now, I called Georgia. I said Georgia was going to go blue, and I did receive a bunch of comments talking about it just because, it wasn't out of the question that a Democrat could have won North Carolina or Florida. Obama had done Florida as recently as 2012, North Carolina as recently as 2008. But Georgia, you would have to go back to Bill Clinton in 1992. And actually, this is the largest victory vote-wise for a Democrat in the state of Georgia since Jimmy Carter. So roughly, 4 decades have passed, and we now see Joe Biden doing considerably better than, not considerably better, but yes, considerably better than other Democrats, but better than Bill Clinton. And I just think that's really interesting. I think that, because Joe Biden is now doing better than all of his other Democrats, I think it might actually be, let me think, 76. So yeah, around 4 decades. I just think that's interesting that Georgia is now expected to vote to the left of North Carolina. Florida was called immediately on election night, compared to the rest of the states that have yet to be called. Rhode Island was called after the state of Florida. Florida reported their results very quickly. They started counting all of their ballots very early, and it ended up being a pretty solid result for President Trump. Now, North Carolina was just projected yesterday by the Decision Desk HQ, but still CNN and Fox News and the Associated Press have yet to call it, but we know it's probably going to end up going to the GOP. Currently, Donald Trump holds roughly 1.4% lead statewide, but like I said, I got Georgia. I was just inaccurate in the state of Florida and North Carolina. These were actually my only 2 states that I got incorrect. Surprisingly, I got 48 out of the 50 states, including the District of Columbia, correct. So I'm pretty happy with where it stood. But North Carolina and Florida, the fact that they are voting to the right of Georgia, I think is truly fascinating. Flashback to 2016, North Carolina went to Donald Trump by 3.7%. Florida went to Donald Trump by 1.2%. Georgia went to Donald Trump by, I believe, 5.2%. So this state voted to the right of them back then. But due to the work of Stacey Abrams and a number of other contributors to the state of Georgia, whether it was through their infrastructure, building up Democrats from literally the ground up, we see Georgia, that one blue pocket in the entirety of the South. So North Carolina and Florida, I was incorrect in my characterization, but I was right practically about everything else in this region, with the exception of Mississippi. I was correct about Virginia as well. So now that we've covered that quadrant of the United States, let's go ahead and take a look at the southwestern region of the United States. This is my prediction. These are the results. So as you can see, my prediction was not too far off. Colorado and New Mexico were correct. Nevada, Arizona, and Texas, I was correct with the projected winner. Nebraska's 2nd District, I was also correct with. But the margins, like I said, matter. Colorado and New Mexico were spot on. Donald Trump lost those states in 2016, but Joe Biden expanded that loss against Donald Trump in this state in both of these states in 2020. Colorado is expected to vote more leftward than South Carolina is rightward. I know I probably worded that weirdly, but essentially Joe Biden won Colorado more than Donald Trump won the state of South Carolina. New Mexico, surprisingly, actually voted to the right of Colorado this election. That could change with a couple of outstanding ballots, but it probably will not. Arizona, which I predicted to be a lean state, is actually narrowed down into being a tilt state. It's already been called for Joe Biden. It's already been called for Mark Kelley. So Democrats, you can relax. There's 11,000 votes separating the two candidates, but the remaining ballots aren't exactly going to favor President Trump the way that they need to be. And some of the batches that we've seen out of the key counties in Arizona have actually been favoring Joe Biden, meaning he's getting more votes percentage-wise. And Nevada, surprisingly, was closer than I expected, but still the victor unchanged. A 3-point margin for Joe Biden, almost mimicking what Hillary Clinton received back in 2016. She won that state, I believe, by 2.9%. So Nevada leaned for the Democrats compared to my prediction, which was likely. Arizona moved over a tad bit, but Texas was pretty surprising. Texas is only narrowly in the likely column. Don't let that brighter red fool you. It's only a 6-point margin for the Republican Party. Iowa and Ohio have voted to the right of Texas in this election. So keep that in mind. Moving forward, Democrats are definitely going to be targeting this state. It was only a percentage point off for being in the lean column. So while my prediction was that it would be less than 1%, I overestimated the amount of support that Joe Biden would be receiving from Hispanic voters. Take a look at the entire country in terms of a county map. Joe Biden did so much better than Hillary Clinton, except amongst Latino voters. And we see that perfectly in this region, in the state of Texas, and also Florida. Check out Miami-Dade County, where Donald Trump received 200,000 more votes in 2020 than he received in 2016. Flashback to 2016, Hillary Clinton actually received more votes than Joe Biden in that county itself. So we saw a lack of support for Joe Biden amongst Latino voters, something that I did not catch. I don't know why that just turned and became a safe state, but I didn't catch that. But at the end of the day, I was only off by 2 states, North Carolina and Florida, which I wouldn't say is too bad. So overall, I mean, yes, Donald Trump received less electoral votes than what he actually has already been projected to win. That is because North Carolina and Florida are very populous states. And when 29 electoral votes moves away from your column, you're probably going to drop under a certain threshold. Now, like I said, 2 states, just moving them over, you see that the results are the exact same of what we're looking at right now. So North Carolina, Florida, these 2 states, I expected to go to Joe Biden. I was wrong. I understand that. And moving forward, I'll be much closer in looking at a lot of the demographic data and the demographic shifts. I always talked about how Joe Biden was marginally underperforming Hillary Clinton. On election day, it actually proved to be a little bit more than marginal. But overall, same results really in the Rust Belt, just a little bit less Democratic support in some states, more Democratic support than we expected in others. For example, Virginia, or really Colorado, or New Hampshire. For whatever reason, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Colorado, New Mexico, and Virginia, which were definitely targeted by the Trump campaign at some point in time throughout the 2020 election, those states really moved away from the president, and they in fact were not actually as close as they were in 2016. Every single one of those states has moved to the left, Maine at large included. A lot of states narrowed up, but generally the feel across every single state in this country, with the exception, I believe, of Florida, and I don't really know if there are any other states where they have shifted to the right in terms of their vote share. Not every single state is finished counting, which is why we don't have a projection in Georgia. There's still going to be a hand recount, but it probably won't change much. Overall, almost every single state in the country, with the exception of Florida, moved to the left. And I think that was just a really weird indicator, because we thought Florida would tell us how the election was going to go, but it ended up going to President Trump by a larger margin than what he won it back in 2016. But not a single other state, really, not a single other swing state, I don't believe, can say the same. So President-elect Biden finishes off this election with 306 electoral votes. I projected 350. I was off in North Carolina and Florida, but all of the other predictions were correct. 48 states, including the District of Columbia and Nebraska's 2nd District and Maine's 2nd District. So overall, I'd say my track record is okay. We're going to move on to another video talking about the United States Senate elections. I think that was just, again, gross overestimation of Joe Biden's support in those states, and thus carrying down those candidates through the Senate elections. But we will see. We don't have a full call in the state of Georgia yet, so I might end up waiting until after January 5th. But we probably will see a lot of states certify their results by then, and I'll probably have to make a video at that point. So Stay tuned for that one. This was my presidential election comparison, my prediction versus the actual results. Final thing, if you're skipping to the end, I understand. Prediction, final results. And before I let you go, make sure you go ahead and check out my new channel. I know I mentioned it in the beginning of the video, but just go ahead and go to that link and subscribe if you want to. You don't have to. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch and then a playlist for my 2020 election prediction. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.